I'd like to welcome to the show stand-up comedian Neil. How are you doing today?
Hi, how are you? I'm good.
Not bad. I'm excited to chat with you, man. Stand-up comedy is something that I have a huge passion for and a huge respect for, just based on understanding. As a former professional wrestler, I know what it's like to go out in front of an audience and perform. So it's like it's not the same, but it is the same because that inner part of you to it. I'm sure we'll dive a little bit into it later, but going onto that stage probably gives you, that feeling that nothing else really does, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's the short of it. I mean, I think a lot of us are missing a piece of our emotional life that only the adoration of complete strangers uh fills temporarily.
Yeah,
Um, but I will say that I feel like I've always kind of been missing that gene or whatever that um makes you like nervous or anxious when you get on stage. Like I've
for
always been
sure.
very, talking to 1,000 people is easier than talking to one person for sure.
Absolutely. For sure, for sure. So let's take the audience back a little bit to maybe get a better understanding of Neil and how you kind of got into stand-up comedy. What was that initial feeling? Was there something you watched, and what was it like, kind of, that process of getting into it?
Well, I mean, probably growing up, I always, had the fantasy, watching like just the regular greats like Carlin or at the time Cosby, Eddie Murphy early, and then and Sam Kinison. And then my parents were like big into Buddy Hackett. And then that stuff falls by the wayside as you get older and like realize that you know, it's not a real option, I guess. So you start doing other stuff, and I started working for bands and touring, and um, I was lucky enough to get on a couple of TV things, and someone told me, uh, like if you want to keep staying on TV or whatever, like you should start doing stand up to get noticed for that stuff. And I took his advice and haven't been on TV since. So
So as you kind of formed yourself as a comedian, a stand-up comedian, like, did you uh what was that process like for you? What was it like, kind of grinding, kind of like I know it's not easy grind. You know what I mean? The grind is, it's hard, and it's an ever-changing thing that's hard. It's not just what people see on television, and stuff like that. So take me behind that a little bit.
well, I think the craziest thing about it now is that um I mean, in a lot of fields the goalposts keep moving, but I feel like in comedy they kind of took them down. Like there's really no um I would say that there's very few comedians that are just comedians. There's usually something else, and like except for 10 massive, stand-ups. But even then they like mess around with other things. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's just it started just the grinding started just because I was used to paying dues, being in bands and trying to get up the ranks as like a touring professional. And you just always pay dues. Like you always just like start at the bottom and try to get to the top. And so comedy was just like another thing that was like that, but there is no top. There's no tangible goal. It's like, well, I want to make a living telling jokes. So I guess I got to sell tickets. And then it's like, well, how do you raise your profile? And then it used to be, you know, late night or HBO or then Netflix and then whatever else. And now it's like, good luck, you know?
Yeah,
Post a
how
video on a platform that you have no control over. See if that works.
right, the ever-changing process of like you said, I mean, with social media, I think is helped a lot of things, also hindered a lot of things in that same time. How has that kind of the rise of social media, how has that helped and maybe hindered, or how have you tried to use that to your advantage within the in stand-up comedy?
I haven't. Um, I will say, there used to be like, a few gatekeepers, and it was like, then the internet came and it was like, oh, good, we're getting rid of the gatekeepers. But instead, we just have like way more gatekeepers. Uh, So there's not that thing, and now like the gatekeepers are on much smaller levels. Like it's like, if someone owns a platform that's doing well for artists, now they're a gatekeeper, but they're a gatekeeper for a much smaller field.
Yeah, so now with that being said, what take me behind, obviously I know it's not just a you sit down and you write joke thing, but what's your joke writing process like for you?
Usually it's unpacking trauma. So like, I was sitting with my buddy the other day and we were talking about our childhood and our relationships with our fathers. And I was like, oh, like this is how I felt about my dad. This is the kind of person my dad was for my brothers. And then I was younger, so for me, and all these things. And it was like, I was like, oh, I should probably tackle that stuff. Like I should probably, just for my own mental well-being, I should dive into that stuff, or unpack it, as the kids say. Um, so yeah, so that's what I'll do. Like next time I sit down to like write new stuff, which I say like my process has become like once a week, I'll try and do like a fresh idea, as opposed to used to be every day I try to do a fresh idea, and then and then the editing process, the expanding and retracting of those ideas started to get overwhelming because there was just so many new ideas. So now I'm like, all right, once a week or once every 2 weeks, I'll sit down with like a fresh idea. This week's idea will be my dad. 2 weeks ago it was the Little Mermaid. You know what I mean? So like, who knows what that is? You know what I mean? But if I sit down and tackle a new idea, it's usually like once or twice a week, and it's generally a trauma thing, like a cat's going nuts. I don't know if you can hear it. And yeah, and then I'll sit down and I'll work on it, and I'll bring it to stage as soon as possible, just to like hear how it sounds to people and if anybody's laughing at any of the parts, and then go back and just expand, shorten, expand, shorten, expand, shorten based on results. And it used to be a lot more open mics. It used to be like I would try to do like 20 open mics in a week and say the same thing to 20 different small audiences. And now I think this goes for like all working comedians, where it's like you get to a point where you kind of trust your knowledge of the things, like what is and won't work, and then go bring it. So like I'll bring it out immediately just to see what happens. And then instead of drilling it for 2 weeks, 20 times a week, I'll sit with it and work on it and then drill it a few times in front of bigger audiences in a more controlled environment. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's always fascinated me because what we see on the stage obviously is months, if not sometimes years of work that you've piled up. So take me behind. I know you just recently filmed your special, right?
Yeah, have some
Um,
dignity.
so take me behind the special. What kind of where what first off where you filmed it, how's that how'd that work out for you, and kind of the process of building that special. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for a while and I felt like I had enough stuff. And yeah, like I said, like it's a lot of trauma-based stuff. So uh I had been doing a lot of material about a move, like moving, which like I don't even live in that place anymore. Like I moved and then moved again. So there's stuff about moving. There's stuff about my ex, which is now going on over 2 years of after a breakup. And there's stuff, sorry. And there's stuff about the pandemic, which is now 3 years out. So it's like I wanted to kind of record and record a best version of that stuff and kind of like push it aside so I can like move on with my life, kind of, like I felt like I was bringing up my ex-wife every night, and it's just like, all right, dude, like stop talking about her, dude, like just move on, please. So yeah, I felt like it was time to record, and no one's inviting you to any parties. You gotta go kick down doors. So I put up a GoFundMe to see if I could raise the money. People were amazing. And we did it in Montclair, New Jersey. Our buddy has a couple of venues in that area, and he offered us use of one of the venues. And it was shot by my buddy Mike Dubin, who's like, I mean, at this point, world-renowned photographer and videographer, and also produced and directed by Steve Padula from the band Thursday, who also is, he does like tons of stuff for like Food Network and HDTV and stuff. So those two guys knew what they were doing, and they loved me and I love them. So I knew I could trust them to make it happen, and they did. And they gave me good rates and got help at good rates, and the venue was a good rate, and people came out to support. And yeah, I think we got a really great product in the can, and we're just waiting to chop it up and put it out.
What kind of goes through your mind before you get onto that stage?
In general, or that day?
Well, that day and in general, either or, both.
In general, like I said, like I don't really feel a shift. So like I joke with like new comedians, like when I talk about like you just want to take the mic out of the stand, put the stand behind you, and tell some jokes. Like that's the move. Just do this and go. And it doesn't matter if it's 8 people, 8,000 people, everyone in the industry, no one from the industry. Like we're just telling jokes. We're trying to do the research to find out what works, how it works, how to make it better, how to get the most laughs in the shortest amount of time, how to get the biggest laughs, what you can do to make them like you more, or how to soften some blows. If we want to talk about suicide, how do we get there without bumming anyone out, those kinds of things. So I don't really, yeah, it's really just that for me. It's just take the mic out of the stand, tell some jokes. It didn't, and then the special, I mean, really wasn't much different. I mean, maybe earlier that day, worried that like, oh, is this guy going to be on time? Is there going to be enough people in the crowd? Are the chairs going to get here on time? Is the lighting guy going to get here? Like those kind of things, but never a question about, and I don't mean to sound cocky, but never a question about my ability or how the jokes are, or, you know, you flub a line or two, you flub a line or two. It's, it's part of the process.
That's part of having that live mic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. You try to say unique New York enough to like loosen your mouth and then start using it. That's it. Watermelon lemonade.
um,
Tell some
in
jokes.
the in the rise of social media, we've seen a lot of comedics kind of form into a lot more crowd work. How now with that rise, has that, in my opinion, I feel like part of that could maybe hinder some comedians, that you have people that show up just think they can say whatever they want now. Has that kind of hindered some of what you've seen on the road? Your guy's on the road a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what is that kind of, and it's not knocking the people that are doing, but also how has that hindered and formed stand-up comedy the way it is today?
Yeah. I mean, that's like a, that's such a, that's a, if we could do a whole podcast just about that. For me, I don't want to engage with the crowd uh, unless I can control it. I don't want to invite chaos. Um, I think a lot of the stuff you see are people out of their depth, and it makes audiences, yeah, they think that they're helping and they're not, because comedy is about timing, and you talking in the pauses is the opposite of why those pauses are there. Um, I think it can be controlled. I think in general, if you establish like, listen, I don't want to talk to you guys, they'll listen. People are still paying money for entertainment, so they want to be entertained. I think in a lot of cases when you get the rowdy audience, it's because they don't trust the stage, because too many people have done poor crowd work. The people who do it great are doing it great, and like we're probably doing it way before the clips. Um, and I'm not going to knock those people. And the people that do it mediocre, like if they're making a living doing it, what I don't have anything to say about that. Like it's not up to me. But I will say it's not something I prefer to do. I prefer to just tell the jokes that I worked hard to make perfect, to a crowd that wants to hear good jokes. Um, I think advertise it differently. You know what I mean? And then I've heard club owners or club promoters and club bookers be like, yo, we booked you because your jokes are funny. We didn't book you to like harass the crowd about what they do for a living. Like, yeah, we're gonna make fun of the crowd for what, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like, yeah. So I'm in that camp, I think.
Makes
But
sense.
yeah, the
It
people
does.
that do it great, like I'm a huge Big J fan. I would never question his, but he was doing it long before that became a thing. And I see people, I mean, I see clips on the internet where it's like, why'd you put this out? You're not funny at all. Like it's the audience is funnier than you. Like you're losing you're losing equity with your own audience. And I don't know. I'd rather put out a good joke that doesn't have a laugh than someone else's joke at my expense.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes plenty of sense. Absolutely. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, I mean, as the comedian, you never want to be outshined by the person that's buying the ticket to see you. I mean, makes plenty of sense. I
You
mean,
lose the whole audience. Now it's
yeah,
like, well, why am I paying this guy? Like, I want a refund. Don't bring me any more drinks.
yeah, for sure.
I don't appreciate cancel culture, which I mean, that's not like the reality of it, the existence of it or not. The reality is that people are trying to like ruin people's livelihoods actively, and that's like real shitty. Like, if you don't like it, turn the channel, pick a new platform, fuck yourself. Like, there's a million other things. Like, I don't need to talk about what I don't care for unless I want to open dialogue. Like, if you think what I'm saying is hurtful to people, and you don't, and you honestly think that I don't know, then yeah, come be like, hey man, that joke is like pretty fucking offensive because of these things, and maybe I haven't thought of it, but maybe I have, and I'm like, well, yeah, but also it's more about this. Like, if you can get past the buzzwords, like we're talking about this. Yeah, I don't think anyone deserves to lose their job over that. You know what I mean? Like, and then like, when is it over? You know what I mean? Like, when are they allowed back to work? They said something fucked up 12 years ago, so they should lose the thing they've been working their whole life towards. Like, I don't, that's not right. And then what about all those other people? Like, let's say you cancel someone who just got a sitcom. Now that sitcom got canceled, and then all those other people out of work, all those people that worked their whole lives to get this opportunity, all start back over at scratch. And it's just like, well, I don't know. I don't know why we're doing that. I don't know why this is a fun thing for someone or a cool thing. Like, just move along. You know what I mean? Like, there's way worse people. Like, go murder a politician. You know what I mean? Like, why do you? There's someone actively trying to pass a bill against the thing I'm being mean about. All right, okay, go talk to him. Don't talk to me. I'm not. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just commenting on a thing that exists. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
comedy is something that I love. I have a strong passion for stand-up comedy, and my I love watching. You know what I mean? Obviously, if I pay or if I'm taking 30 minutes, an hour of my time, like my goal in this an hour is to forget
yeah.
is what you want from us as the audience is to forget life existence. It's like watching a movie, it's like watching a TV show. You want for that 30 minutes or an hour to forget that life exists. And hopefully, obviously in the stand-up comedy route, you want to laugh. You know what I mean? Like that's the main goal. And my thing is I hate it. I mean, I hate some aspects of where stand-up comedy has come. There's hilarious comedians that say fucked up things that are funny. Fucked up things are funny. Period. End of story. You know what I mean? It's just it is what it is. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Like, I mean, I'm a big proponent of not watching it if you don't like. There's things I don't like animated movies. I don't like anime. I don't watch anime. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get anime thrown off the air because I don't understand it. You know what I mean? But yeah,
There's literally 1,000 flavors of tea. You know
exactly.
what I mean? I don't go in the aisle and like stay like block people from buying the teas I don't like. Like,
Yeah.
how dare you buy Earl Grey? It's
How
named
dare
after
you?
a pirate who pillaged a neighbor. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, for sure.
Fuck you.
Um,
Uh,
let's bring some positivity back into this thing.
hey,
With that being said, some obviously you're on the road quite a bit. Some comics that not a lot of people that aren't flashy, that maybe aren't on your Netflixes and HBOs, that people at home are listening to this and watching this, that they should be on, the lookout for or should be searching for their work.
I mean, there's so many. I open for a couple. I open for Adrienne Appalucci sometimes. She's a monster. She's getting a little bit. She's on the rot. Like, she's bigger. You know what I mean? But I don't think she gets what she deserves. Liz Miele, I don't think is getting what she deserves. Um, Ashley Gavin, as big as she is in her scene, she's not getting what she deserves from the mainstream. Um, and then there's like, I mean, even Joe List, I don't think Joe List is getting what he deserves. Mike Vecchione's not getting, like, these are bigger names that are still like, I mean, Joe List should be a household name. Like, the man
He's
is
one of the funniest people I've
brilliant,
ever
like,
seen.
just a brilliant joke writer. And like, I mean, that roller coaster bit on this year's material, like, I was fortunate enough to like watch that get worked out because we were like in the same circuit for a minute in New York City, and I would like do these like backyard shows with him and stuff, or backyard that he was on. Not that we, I mean, I don't even, I mean, I know he knows my name, but I don't, we're not like, um, but yeah, like I would get to see him work that bit out, and like that's a top. I mean, that's a top 20 all time bit, easy in my opinion, and he should be. He should, but I guess, you know, um, yeah, for some reason he's not. I don't know. Mike Vecchione, same thing. Mike Vecchione's unbelievably good, unbelievably strong. And then Mark Norman and Sam Morril, I think they're popping right now, like they're in theaters and stuff, so they're probably on everyone's radar. Um, but yeah, if I had to like pick five, yeah, Adrian, Liz, Ashley, Joe List, um, and then and then there's smaller, like my size people that are like, there's so many. I mean, I see every day, someone on like around my level, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. Uh, Katie Bruce, Luke Severide, Jake Silberman, uh, Zayn Sharif, Abby Washuda. Um, I mean, I'm kind of drawing a blank right now. Chandler Roan, uh, Dean Stanfield, Spencer Cavins, like I mean, all these guys, like I mean, various stages of just getting going, but uh, I mean, even as big as like Casey Shornima and Zahid Duji, who like he's getting his due, but like mostly writing and stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's so many greats. Like, I mean, I could, yeah. If you gave me an hour, I could fill an hour just saying names of people I respect.
No, I love
And
that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, as like I said, as somebody as a fan of comedian, I mean, I've heard some of the people you've mentioned, some of the people I haven't heard. So it's like for me, that's like I want to dive into some of those people that that you mentioned. That's something I love to do, you know. That being
I mean,
said,
if I go scene by scene, like forget it. You hear like Connor Lawrence, Aaron Weber, who's like kind of getting big now. Matt Taylor from Nashville. Yeah, I mean, what? Yeah, we
yeah, for
could
sure.
do this all day for sure.
All right, let's hit everybody with your social media and maybe some
Oh,
upcoming dates that you might have. Let's just hypothetically throw out July if you have any dates in July that you are know of. End
yeah,
of this month, beginning of
yeah.
July-ish.
So I'm it's just at Neil Rubenstein on Instagram. And I think if you just do, I think if you do Neil Rubenstein or Neil Rubenstein comedy on YouTube, you'll find me. But I believe it's Neil Rubenstein reviews it is the channel. But I think if you just put in my name and comedy, you'll get there. Um, uh, what do you say? July? July, I'm in Connecticut a whole bunch, doing like a bunch of like breweries and vineyards, and then Massachusetts, I'm doing a couple of don't tells and headlining a bar show in Boston the second week. Then I'm in Rochester with Ben Bailey at the end of the month, and Paramount on Long Island with Bayside and I'm the Avalanche at the end of July. And then a don't tell in Kansas City. I'm hosting in Fort Wayne at Summit City at the end of July. And then August, I'm in Denver and Oklahoma a bunch. And then, the world. So Louisiana in September, Atlanta in September, Pittsburgh and Cleveland with Liz in September, Richmond with Ashley Gavin in September, October back with Ben Bailey, all over the place,
Perfect.
trying to get noticed. All that stuff's at neilrubenstein.com. I try to update the dates frequently, but I mean, I'm alone out here. Shit gets out of hand.
For sure, for sure. And I'll link all this stuff in the comments of the podcast version of this and on YouTube as well. Neil, thank you so much for your time today.
Yo, thank you. Thanks for having me, man.